Hi, I'm Meatball Saucy, and here is my VPen cab. I often get asked how I do certain things. While there are many great tutorials from the likes of Terry Red, Nailbuster, and Major Frenchie, I sometimes do things a little bit different. This is how I do it. Welcome to another edition of How I Do It. Today we're going to be taking a look at Coinops Diamonds 3 with the vertical package and how I've got that set up to operate with a topper display, a backglass display, and a DMD on my virtual pinball machine. So today we're going to be talking about the configuration and setup of the Coinops system, as well as getting this working in PinUp Popper so that we've got a seamless transition into Coinops from PinUp Popper and then back to PinUp Popper when we're done playing Coinops. So without further ado, let's take a look. So the first thing I wanted to highlight was my Windows display configuration for the VPen. Note that the display number 2 is set up here in Windows as my playfield. Display number 3 is the backglass. Display number 1 is the DMD, and display number 4 is the topper. Okay, so now when Coinops ships by default, it is not set up to display on more than 2 displays. It allows for support for a marquee and the main title screen. So we have to do some little tweaks and modifications to the config files in order to get that to work. So from the root of your Diamonds vertical or Coinops, you've got a settings.config file. Let's go ahead and open that up with a notepad. And the very first thing you'll note here is that the display section is set up. And in most cases, this is only going to go to full screen 0, which is your primary display, and full screen 1. In order to add additional displays, you need to add these to this display section. You need to be able to add in the number of screens, updating this number of screen sections to equal your total number of screens. And note that you will start to number your screens, 0 being your primary display screen, all the way up to however many screens you need to configure. Note that I've got this kind of going in a wonky order. It doesn't really matter which order you put them in, but the main thing here is that you want to have your non-full screen set, but that your horizontal and vertical are stretched to the full limit of whatever the display is set to. So you'll note here that I've got a 0, a 1, a 2, and a 3 screen all configured for this to set up. That is the extent of setting up the displays. Once the displays are set up, we actually need to be able to tell Coinops how to use those displays. And we do that by going into the Layouts, Worlds, and editing the base layout XML. And we're going to edit it. Now this is fairly simple. It's a lot of text, but we're really just going to come all the way down to the bottom of this, and we are looking for the section about second screen marquee. Now you will generally have this section here where it's going to say images, vignette, and possibly marquee. What we need to do is we need to copy the marquee line and duplicate it so that we have got our total of 3 additional second screens. So we've got our main screen set here, the second screen set here, and the third screen set here. What's important now is to be able to take and edit the type. This type indicates which folder we will be using for the display. So once we actually know what display is on there, there's going to be, and we'll go real quickly just show what that looks like. Whoops. Over in the collection section in the arcade, you'll note that you have in the medium artwork, you've got these 5 folders. Now, what we're actually calling out here is the image that will be displayed on the actual monitor. So we say, okay, hey, on monitor 3, I want to display my marquee image. So as this is set out, you also need to make sure that you've got your height information set to 1920 1080. And again, that is kind of up to you on how you do this, but because we have it stretched, it really doesn't matter what the resolution is here. It will stretch to the full screen. You'll just get a better look depending on what you actually set the monitor resolution to. But defining the monitor is very important to make sure that you're doing it. So as you can see, I've got the marquee set to monitor number 3, which if we go through 0, 1, 2, 3, that is actually the 4th monitor. So that's my topper monitor that we're using for the marquee. The cover is set to monitor 1, so if we go 0, 1, you'll know that this is my back glass, and then the logo is where we've got it set to monitor number 2, and that is my DMD. And so what we're actually looking at is the marquee images are going to display on the topper, the cover images are going to show up on the back glass, and the clear logos are going to show up on the DMD. Okay, now that we've got the screen set up, I want to talk about actually getting this working and firing it off from PinUp Popper. Now keep in mind, PinUp Popper is a perfect front end. You can launch it absolutely fine, and you can do some cool configurations utilizing PinUp Popper. However, what I really wanted to have happen is to not have PinUp Popper running in the background, but to actually completely close out of PinUp Popper. So I've got 3 programs that ship with this Diamonds 3 vertical package. You've got the all system, the horizontal only, and the vert only. Sorry, the definitive collection, all, and the vert. Now, in order to actually utilize this, I have got AutoHotkey programs running. You can see I've got the all vert configured, the definitive collection configured into an executable, and the vert configured into an executable. Now all of them are based off of this template that I have here, and so we're going to open up the AutoHotkey template and take a look in detail at what this looks like. So you'll notice this is kind of the default function of AutoHotkey. It kind of just sets your working directory so that this script that's running is all going to be based out of this primary key, so I don't have to do a lot of path identification, but I have done so anyway. What I also will note here is that I have a task kill that I've got commented out. This is definitely not the way to do it. I left it on here just as a reference to myself to make sure I never do that again. But really the first step is turning off PinUp menu, and what I basically do to avoid having to deal with the menu and navigating the menu, I just simply run the task kill on the PinUp menu, which closes out of PinUp Popper. I give it a short little delay, where then I send a couple of enter keys to allow for the closing and proper closing. I then give it another short little delay, and at this point, this is where I'm switching my controller configurations so that I have got my XPatter configured specifically for my encoders that I have built into the VPin. At that point, I am then launching Coinops, whichever version of the Coinops that you are really setting up. You need to make sure that goes in, and then the script goes into a wait. We're actually waiting for Retro FE, which is the background program for Coinops. We're waiting for that to close. As long as it's open, it's going to stay open, and this script is going to continue running, just waiting for it to close. So as soon as we actually close out of Retro FE using the default configure, This is going to then switch back to my default XPatter control configuration so that I'm back to my Popper configuration, and then relaunch PinUp Popper. This then closes the application. So after you have this all configured, you basically just close that, right click, and select to compile the script, and that's what creates these executable files that you can use within PinUp Popper. Okay, so let's take a look now at the PinUp Popper setup for this emulator. So we open up the PinUp Popper configuration and we open an emulator. I've created an arcade emulator here, and you'll notice that I am pointing over to my Diamonds 3 vertical. I'm also making sure that my file execution extension is the exe, so that I'm picking up any new exes should I add them. And then we take a look at the launch script. Now you'll note here that this is very basic launch script. All we are doing is making sure we are in the emulator directory, which is called out in this first screen here, making sure we're in the emulator directory. Then we are launching the full game name that we have imported into the database. And that then allows the script to take over to close up PinUp Popper, open up Coinops, and again do the wait cycle like it did before. Now, the only other issue here is making sure that when you do the games manager and you're actually importing games into the system, is that you select your emulator, and that way when you scan for this, it will show you the executables that are here. So you can see that it now went out and looked at the executables that I have not added to this system, and it sees the default ones that are just going to launch it without using my custom configuration. So this is all you would do to add anything that you have compiled. You select it and add the games to the system. That's basically it, guys. It's pretty simple. Coinops is designed to be easy. It's supposed to be easy to get you up and running. But let's take a real quick look at how this looks. Okay, so here we are in PinUp Popper, and you'll note we go over to the Diamonds section here and go into the sub menu of this to select all games, and we'll load this up. So now what you'll see is the script will start to execute and run. And there goes PinUp Popper. And here comes Diamonds 3. And again, now we've transitioned to a whole different control scheme here, and we are able to now launch into the games and select games. We'll launch into a game here momentarily. Fire this up. Inserting coins. And we should be able to do a quick little game demo here. And then when we're done, exit out of the game, back into Coinops, into the main menu. So you'll see the controls are all working, everything's flying fine. Then we exit out, and we're going back into the menu. And now we can just go ahead and close out of Coinops. Coinops closes. And we're back into PinUp Popper. There you go. Bob's your uncle. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you learned something and you can apply it to your own arcade, fantastic. That's what I'm here for. If you enjoyed the content, again, please leave a like, share with your friends, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again. Cheers.